So I saw this obviously in a picture. This is one of the main sites in Karkaraly. Um, if I'm pronouncing that correct. Again, I think I'm retarded when it comes to this name. If you've watched a few more of the other videos, I'm always introducing with the name of the place. I can't fucking pronounce it at all. Excuse my French. Anyway, so this is the Basin Lake, and when you see it in a picture, what does it look like to you? It looks like a quarry. It's pretty basic. It's a bog standard quarry. You ask people, and they say no. It's completely natural. I mean, even there, I can see a perfect. Look at this perfect rectangle. That certainly isn't natural. And the whole thing isn't natural. And funnily enough, I did a video just now on how the rock formations here, or what retarded kind of mainstream geology would call rock formations, and it looks like the smelting process, the excess slag. If you have a giant mining operation on a scale that we couldn't even potentially comprehend, or perhaps we could, it's just not something that's visible to the mainstream, the public. It's all kind of locked within a compound in a giant industrial quarter. But a lot of the formations look, I mean, there's better examples than this one, but you either have, it's either the excess of a volcanic eruption, molten lava that's then solidified, and it has these flaky heaps, these layers. That's the word I was looking for. Or if you've ever seen metal smelt or metal smelted, or if you've seen the glass making process, it's not it's not dissimilar in how it folds, and you get these layers, and then of course they solidify. And this is quite clearly not natural at all. It's ridiculous for anyone to make that statement, but they do. They do, just as as with many things which I won't rant about now. But I mean, one prime example is this particular town. Interestingly, actually, I find it very interesting how all these things seem to coincide coincidentally. A so-called cosmonaut. Now, I don't believe in cosmonauts, astronauts. The idea of people going into space on rockets and landing on the moon, it's a complete scam. It's been proven time and time again that it's a ludicrous joke. But just like with Santa Claus, you tell a child from day one that there's a man that climbs down your chimney to molest you and give you presents. People, unfortunately, are just as susceptible in older age to the ludicrous nature of the propagandistic mechanism that is the Judaic mainstream cabal. Cabal with a K, because it's named after Kabbalah. But people believe that there's little people floating around in space. I mean, how fucking retarded can you get? But without going on a tangent, in this particular town, which has a very interesting set of national parks, and if you're new to this, and if you have no idea what I'm saying, the world is a deep place, and there's knowledge that most people couldn't even comprehend after reading, hundreds of volumes of literature on that specific subject. But national parks are often created, as we know too well in the UK with the recent South Downs National Park, to safeguard mineral deposits and resources. It's sort of like a national vault, if you like, and often they don't display to the public the real reason as to why national parks are created. Because frankly, nature has been pretty much untouched in most of the world for the last century, and there's so many places that are fantastic that aren't national park areas. And if you take the South Downs, obviously there's a lot of gas deposits within that, hence why they're trying to reverse, or they will reverse, the safeguarding of that particular patch of land. But it's, for the fracking, I mean. But often national parks, there's loads of resources: cobalt, iron, gold, bauxite, silver. Sky's the limit. It's all under these places. And if you look at this particular park, it's incredibly interesting because it's split between two areas. So you have the main park that I'm in now, and I'm only on the fringe. I've only started the day. And then you have, if you look up Karkaraly or Karkaraly, that's it. That's the one, Karkaraly, which is also Karkaralinsk, the old Russian name. And the other part of the park, which is separated, is a perfect circle. Perfect circle. And this is my belief, and people think it's batshit crazy, but these are often the people that go to work from 9 to 5 doing completely meaningless tasks, and then they go and watch Netflix for 20, 30 years, and then they have the audacity, having seen some propaganda on the news or during their school years, to believe themselves an expert in geology. If you look at volcanoes as an example, one very logical theory as to what a volcano is, it's actually the base of a giant tree, that was burned out during a massive fire. Hence why we're told, the world is millions of years old, thousands of years old, and yet look at the size of the trees. Aside from the sequoias, which are pretty small still, if you believe in what I'm stating, in places like Yosemite and God, what's the other national park? Joshua Tree in the United States. This is ridiculous. If this is 1,000 years old, I mean, you can grow a tree in your garden. In your life, you can get a tree that's, 20, 30, 40 foot. So, if this is the extent of the the foliage in a national park that's been pretty much untouched, not dissimilar to anywhere else in the world, then, what you're saying has to ring like what you're told has to ring bullshit, doesn't it? What I'm saying is volcanoes essentially were the base of giant trees. There's a giant fire. The trunk burns out and falls in on itself. And if you think of the root system on a large tree today, like a sequoia tree, it probably goes down several hundred meters. I mean, I don't know that for sure, but for sure some large trees will have root systems that are incredibly extensive. Now, of course, if there's a fire in a large tree, a giant fire, a giant forest fire, of a magnitude that we can't comprehend, sort of like a cataclysm, we could compare it to the tsunami in Indonesia in the early 2000s, as an example, something of that magnitude. And of course, when it goes in on itself, it's insulated, but there will be a slow burn, and it will burn all the root systems out. And then the volcanic eruption, which potentially comes, we're told, over thousands of years. Now, I don't believe the world is thousands of years old at all. I think it's absolutely insane to believe that. I think our history is much more recent, and they manipulate the truth. And unfortunately, you get little people which make up the mass majority. This is turning into a tangent, but I'm going for it. You get these little people who represent 99% of the Earth's sphere, if it indeed is a sphere, who knows, doing their 9 to 5s. Their kids go and study a degree in archaeology where they take a trowel and they rummage over the surface of some, we're told, Roman or Greek or Persian artifact for the duration of their life, while smoking cigarettes and drinking and taking a 25k salary. And apparently these people are experts, and everything that they're told is recited from the same propagandistic textbooks that were implanted in schools 150 years ago at the turn of the last reset, around 1850, and the same system is just applied time and time again. It's a system of indoctrination, and I don't know how people can't see it. I mean, the USSR, China, the United States, and the so-called West is another example of the same system. It's just reciting nonsense, things that seem theoretically plausible and may in some cases be plausible, but because of that, it's a 2 + 2 = 5 scenario. People just think, oh, well, that makes sense. And there's all these books that go back for a really long period telling us that it's the same thing. So it's that strategy, it's that Stockholm syndrome. You tell a lie enough times, you come to respect the master. And there's, again, a logic to that. If everyone's believing the same thing, you question, well, it must be true. Surely other people question, these things, and therefore have discerned that it is a truth. No, people are fucking stupid. Have you seen COVID? This is the ultimate scam. And everyone is like, oh, jabbing their kids with things that they can't even comprehend. It's unbelievable to me. Anyway, so the idea is that, you have the burnt out stump of the tree, and also this the other half of this national park is the perfect diameter of what could be a large tree, and it has the points of the main root system. Like you have with a sequoia, you will have 2 angular protruding parts at the base of the stump. And then, of course, when we mine today, we mine coal, which is just charcoal, essentially, that's being compacted under pressure deeper in the Earth's crust. And that is essentially the burnt out remnants of the root system. And often when you have mines, things, like gold, silver, pretty much any mineral, you're mining it out of what would have been the tree. I mean, when you think of God, I can't think of the word, but gold is found in a particular type of ore. I always forget the name, but they run in strings. You have stringers, you have leads and lines of them, and within that you mine the said mineral. But, if you think of sap on a basic tree, on a pine, the sticky substance that's stronger than glue in cases, and you times that by 1,000, and of course that hardens with the pressure and the heat of a fire, and that sap drips down into the base of the tree within the trunk itself and on the then surface, which of course gets covered up over time by ash and organic matter as you know, nature rejuvenates, we look at that as gold. We look at that as silver. We look at those things as copper and bauxite, and all these other minerals, all these other elements of the earth come from organic matter. It comes from, for the most part, trees, giant trees that existed a long time ago, but not in the age that they tell you, not millions, not thousands of years ago, none of that nonsense. And volcanoes are a derivative of just a fire that has been burning within the base of the Earth's crust as a consequence of these fires. Again, remembering that the root systems would be of such a magnitude that we couldn't even comprehend. We're not talking several hundred meters, we're talking about several hundred kilometers potentially. That's an exaggeration, but kilometers. Anyway, that's the craziest rant I've done. Good start to the day. This is quite clearly a mine, though it's called the Basin Lake, funnily enough. And yeah, I'll just give you another little view. This is the most popular, because it's the most accessible, most popular part of the tourist trail. Look at that, perfect. Just, yeah. So, I'm not sure I'd like to go swimming there. I feel like this is the kind of place someone would come with their fucking quad bike and drive off into the edge with weights on their ankles. Probably all kinds of bodies and weapons down there. There we go. There'll be more videos. And if you think I'm mad, question what you do with your life. How about that? But if you are interested in this subject, there are really a lot of channels dedicated to mud flood theory and, you know, the true geology. I'm sure, I think if you look at my channel, you can find playlists. An example of a chap who I'm not 100% on, but who has all kinds of interesting material with respect to this particular topic is Stellium. I think his channel was called Stellium7. It's STELLIUM7, I believe. Cool. I'll leave it there.